Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Stop.Sit.Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen.
Hello.
We are accompanied today by a familiar face, so we will let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cassandra. I am a prior surrogate, and you saw me last time on Friday Facts for Hawaii Surrogacy Center going over the screening procedures.
Yes, which was super informative. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yes. So, okay, question we all always want to know and ask, how did you find out about surrogacy? How'd you get involved?
So I listened to a podcast about surrogacy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Teen Mom 2.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
One of the girls, she does like a podcast. I forget, it was a long time ago. I think it was like Coffee Convos podcast. I don't know, but they talked to a surrogate on their podcast, and I was like, oh my God, that sounds so cool. So I looked into it, and then I got pregnant with my third, so that kind of got put back on the back burner for a little bit. And then we moved to Hawaii because my husband's in the Army, so we got stationed in Hawaii, and I just decided, well, I have the time. I'm not having any more babies. My husband got a vasectomy, so I was like, let me become a surrogate now.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
So I went for it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Oh, how crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so how funny.
How'd you find your agency? How'd you find it?
So on Google, I just Googled surrogacy agencies in Hawaii, and they just happened to be the first one that popped up, and it was Hawaii Surrogacy Center, and I just filled out the inquiry form, and here I am.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I had no idea that Hawaii had their own surrogacy center. Had no idea. No idea.
They're the only we are the only like on island full service surrogacy agency. So
wow.
Wow.
Very interesting. Got a little
it was really
cool.
Well, I didn't expect to find one on island either, so it kind of worked out. It was nice.
Yeah. Is it on Hawaii? Or
yeah, so we have like a little office there, but like it's more of like a place to have meetings. So we used to have a bunch of girls who worked on island, but my boss, she's a prior military wife too, so all of her employees are military wives.
Yeah.
So we've all left the island. We have one girl on island now, but she's community outreach, so she'll meet with girls if they want to meet in person. But yeah, we're kind of all online right now. We do everything at home, so it's kind of nice.
Nice.
I want to derail it just super fast because I just want to ask, are you guys affected by what happened in Hawaii or?
Oh, on Maui?
Yeah.
So we are not. We have some GCs that were on Maui, but they're all okay. They're good. The employee that we have, she was on Oahu, so she's fine too. But she did get involved with helping like get donations together, and she really like jumped in and with the agency kind of like sent stuff over to Maui. So, but luckily none of us were affected that live on island.
Good. That's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get back to your story now.
Yeah.
Okay. So you found them on Google and you just reached out, you did the intake and you were accepted. And did you have any preference or like a wish list as to like who you wanted to work with?
So when I originally applied, I was dead set on like, I want to carry for a same-sex couple, like a gay couple, 2 men. I was like, I don't know why. That's just what my heart was pulling me to do. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to carry for a same-sex couple. And then that didn't happen.
Okay.
My intended parents, it was the very first intended parent profile I saw. She looks like she could be my sister. Like we get along so well. So my husband is Hispanic, so he looks tan, and then her husband is Hawaiian, so he's tan. And so like when we're standing next to each other, we look like we're like related. Like it's very interesting. But I got to meet them in person because they live on island too. They live like about 30 minutes from me from where I lived on the island. So we met up for coffee with my case manager and we hit it off. So we matched that very same day.
That's
awesome. Was like, we just clicked. It was amazing.
Oh, wow. How cool.
Yeah.
So you match, and then how does the process work for, because I remember your agency is a little different, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in our agency, they get you cleared with the clinic with a psych before they send you intended parent profile. So I had to send them all of my records for my kids. The only one I didn't get was for my oldest, who's 12. I couldn't get the records for that because he was already too old. So sent them my births for my baby that I had in Germany and the one that I had in North Carolina, and they reviewed it. I cleared with the clinic, and then I did psych. And psych, that was pretty easy too. I cleared with that, and then I got to go on to matching.
So how long was your process from doing your screening and your psych to actually
So
reading
I
a profile?
applied in August of 2019, and I got matched in December of 2019.
Not bad.
Okay.
And you're all clear, right?
Yeah.
And you're all
Yeah.
clear, so you're ready to go. Wow, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty quick. That's
So when
Yeah,
is transfer then? When does transfer happen?
So our contracts got slowed down with like the holidays, so we didn't get our
Yeah.
contract finalized till about January, and then COVID hit.
right.
That's right.
So we had an anticipated transfer for April, and then it got pushed to June. So we were like the first kind of transfer that our agency did during COVID times. Like we got to do it in June. And my fertility clinic was so nice and still allowed both of my intended parents in the room when they did the transfer. So they got to see little M baby go in, and like so it still got to be really special. Like, yeah, it was really nice. They still got to be a part of it. And yeah, it was their last little embryo. Like they had like one golden embryo left. The fertility doctor, like, this is a golden embryo, like it's perfect in every way. And so she was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna try it on myself. She tried to do IVF twice herself, and she was successful. They tried 10 years to get pregnant on their own for all the different ways, you know, and she miscarried both IVF cycles. Her body just wouldn't let her carry. So she's like, I'm not gonna even try it again. Let's get a surrogate. And he stuck in me.
Not a lot of pressure on you for the golden egg and you're
Right.
like
Oh
the
my
golden
God, let me
embryo.
tell you,
Yeah.
on the way to the
Right.
transfer, I was telling my husband, like, this is a lot of pressure on my uterus to perform.
Yeah.
Right.
So
It is.
luckily it did. It did.
Did you test? Did she want you to test prior to your beta?
So she left it up to me. So she's like, I don't mind if you want to test. And so, you know, I had one, and I texted her. I was like, Sarah, I'm about to pee on a stick. Do you want to know? And she was like, so she called me. She's like, okay, tell me, Cassandra. So I was like, you guys are gonna have a baby.
Aw,
And
so
she just burst
sweet.
into tears, and she like drove straight to her husband's work to tell him, and
Oh, so
they
sweet.
cried together. Yeah, so they were super excited to get to that point. They didn't find out what this embryo was, like the gender, until we got to heartbeat confirmation. So once we got to heartbeat confirmation, because you know, they were very apprehensive, like they didn't want to get too excited because of the losses they experienced. Those two embryos that she lost were girls. So I think they just wanted to wait before getting like the hopes up, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, we went to heartbeat confirmation, and that's when they learned it was a boy. And have the dad's reaction on video of finding out it was a boy. He was so excited, like jumped up and down. It was like it was so fun to be able to witness their happiness, and then just be a small part of it, maybe a big part of it, small part of it. I don't know.
Part of it.
We all say we're small parts, but no, we're big parts. Yeah,
it feels like a small part, right?
I know.
But yeah, it was just exciting to be excited for them. I felt like my best friends were pregnant. I just happened to have their bun in my oven.
That's
so
sweet.
sweet.
That's perfect.
Yeah, we got along well.
I love to hear matches like that.
I know.
So did you have any?
That was my hope. I was like, I really want to get close to them. You know, my husband, before like we started the process, he was worried, like, are you sure you're gonna be able to give a baby back after 9 months? Like, are you sure? Like, he was more worried about my mental attachment to growing a baby for somebody else. But I was like, yeah, I know it's not mine, it's theirs.
Right.
And yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was like my best friends were pregnant. I just grew it. Okay.
That's so cool. Did you have any complications in the pregnancy? Did you get on bed rest, anything like that?
No bed rest. So the reason why I did surrogacy too is just because my own pregnancies were super easy, uncomplicated, besides the normal aches and pains of being pregnant, right? And same thing with my deliveries, all normal, natural deliveries, you know. So I was like, I could do surrogacy. This will be a piece of cake. And it was a piece of cake. It totally was. Like, pregnancy was super smooth. I got like a little bit more nauseous than I did with my own. But nothing pregnancy related was wrong. But right in the middle of my journey at 20 weeks pregnant, I found a lump in my neck, a small lump. I was laying on the couch taking a nap, and I just felt something there. So I don't think it's not surrogacy related. I don't think it is. I don't blame the lump in my neck on surrogacy. It just kind of happened in the middle of my journey.
Yeah.
Right.
So of course I told my OB because I'm carrying a baby for someone else, and it was weird to feel a lump here, and then I felt the lump here, and I was like, wait a minute, that wasn't there a while ago.
Yeah.
And so they felt it, and they're like, oh, your lymph nodes swell in pregnancy, don't worry about it, like, you know, it'll be okay. But they still sent me to an ENT doctor just to be sure.
Okay.
My mom has cancer. She has B-cell lymphoma. So they're like, let's just send you there just in case. So
Yeah.
they sent me. She felt it. She's like, yeah, we have to do a biopsy on your neck. So, well, I think I was pregnant. I'm pregnant. Yeah. Yeah. It was an
Are your
interesting.
IPs freaking out? Are they freaking
Oh
out?
my, I was so scared to tell them. So scared to tell them. But my intended mother, she was so supportive about it. I told them during our 20-week anatomy scan, because they got to go to that ultrasound and see baby. So I was like, hey, I found this lump in my neck. They want to biopsy it. She's like, oh, don't worry. I'm not worried. Are you worried? I was like, well, no, but I'm carrying your baby, so I'm kind of worried, you know?
Yeah.
And she was like, don't worry. She's like, it's going to be fine. She was like probably the most reassuring person.
Wow.
More than me.
Yeah.
I think she was just trying to help me not stress out. So she was just so supportive. Like, it's going to be okay. We'll get through this. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So did the biopsy. Well, I think I was 30 weeks pregnant when they did the biopsy. It was like a small needle biopsy. So I was awake through the whole thing. It was just like local anesthetic.
So wait, Casandra, let me ask you a question. They found it at around 20, but they didn't do the biopsy for 10 weeks?
Yeah, because you know, it takes, I guess maybe just time to get into appointments. So what they did first was an ultrasound. Maybe I should back up. So when I first found it, probably around like 23 weeks, I went in for an ultrasound on my neck.
Okay.
And it was like a ping pong sized ball.
Okay.
It was like on my collarbone. There was 2 here. There was like 3 smaller ones on this side.
Wow.
So they're like, obviously that's not supposed to be there. So they're like, let's do the needle biopsy. And they did. And it was fine. Baby didn't get affected by that. Didn't affect us at all. And then they said, well, we see abnormal cells. We just don't know what kind. Like, it doesn't look like anything. It's not normal, but we can't tell because the sample is too small. So everybody decided, let's induce you. At 37 weeks, so like at the precipice of full term, they decided to induce me. I was like, okay. And at first I didn't want to. I was like, are you sure? Can we just wait? Can't we wait 3 more weeks? What's 3 more weeks? They're like, you know what? For the sake of your own health, let's have a baby. So I was like, okay. Like, I really didn't want to.
so I need to just divert off this a little bit. Let's induce you. Do you think they knew a little bit more than they were letting on?
Oh, totally. Oh, totally.
Okay.
So I read my records like after all of this was over, and oh yeah, they knew. And I think they didn't want to stress me out. Like, they had already written it all over my records that it was leaning towards Hodgkin's lymphoma. Wow. So they just, everybody, I think they were, I honestly, when I think back at it, I appreciate it. I appreciate that they waited. And so I didn't freak out, you know. I already had like anxiety about it. So then they gave me like anxiety meds while I was pregnant. It was like a whole thing. But I mean, why wouldn't it be? I mean, you're pregnant with somebody else's baby who might have cancer. That's a lot to carry.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. So we set an induction date for 37 weeks. I went in. I've never been induced ever. Like, I've just with my own babies, they were born. My first was born at like 42 weeks. My second was born right on his due date. And then my third was like 39 weeks and like 6 days. So my body went into labor on its own. Yeah. My body did not like being induced at all. We were at like the 20-hour mark, and I was barely dilated to 5. We were 20 hours in, and I was barely dilated to 5 centimeters.
Are you on Pitocin? Are they dripping?
Pitocin. First, they did the Cervidil, where they stick it into your cervix to kind of soften it that way, and that didn't really do anything. So then they started the Pitocin, and they were like upping it, and I wasn't feeling any pain. I was feeling like the back labor, I think, of his head hitting my back. because he was still so high up. He
Yeah.
wasn't in my pelvis at all. Like he was just not ready. My body was not ready to have a baby. And so then I felt like a gush and I was like, oh, I think my water broke. And they looked and they're like, that's not your water, that's blood. I was like gushing blood, just in
What?
clumps of like yeah, and like I didn't want to get an epidural because I've done natural birth before, so I knew I could do it. And thank God for my nurse. She was amazing. She like, Cassandra, let's get this epidural just in case. She's like, let's just put this epidural in you just in case, you know. She's like, you're bleeding. She's like, I'm not worried about it yet, but let's just, you know. I was like, all right. My intended mother is with me this whole time in the room, just. But when it got scary, she had left the room to go get dinner. It's like, because of COVID. So they're like, you can only have one support person, but we'll allow them to switch places. Like, so your husband can come in, your intended mother can come in, but only one.
Only
So
one.
she had left to go get dinner, and then my husband was with me. And the doctor tried to feel my cervix. She's like, Cassandra, I can't even feel your cervix because there's just so many blood clots in the way. Like, your cervix is nowhere near where I'm trying to reach. Yeah, and I was just gushing. I'm like, every time I would move, it would just gush some more. And she's like, you know what? I'm making the decision for you. We need to rush you for a C-section. And then like my heart sank. I was like, oh my God. The mom guilt hit me that point. I was like, OMG, I volunteered to do this and it's going completely sideways. I have 3 babies at home. My poor husband's like standing in the corner, like deer in the headlights. Because once she said that, the room swarmed with like 50 nurses. Like, I ended up having a panic attack. So my wonderful nurse again, she stepped in because I don't know if you guys have ever experienced a C-section, but somebody has to like redo the list of all the things that could go wrong, right?
Yeah.
So she was reading me the list on this side, and then another nurse just started to shave me without saying anything. And I think that and like sparked a panic attack and I couldn't breathe. So my nurse was like, you guys need to give her a minute. Like, let's give her 5 minutes to compose herself from what's happening. And so she kicked everybody out and I got to like take a breath.
Yeah.
Tried to call my intended mother to tell her what was happening. I couldn't tell her. I started crying. It was like, because I felt bad. I think also like my point of the whole surrogacy journey was I wanted to see my intended parents become parents. I wanted to push the baby out and see this thing that they were hoping and dreaming for so long finally come to fruition, right? And like it was kind of being taken away from me. So I was emotional about it. And so the doctor took the phone and explained to her everything that was happening. My doctor, she's like, I think your uterus detached. Like, we need to hurry. Like, I think she's like, we might have to do a hysterectomy. I was like, oh my God, yeah. So I'm calling my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm going to an emergency C-section as they're rolling me into the OR. It was like the craziest probably hour of my life. It happened so fast.
Wow.
So fast. So like the baby was floating, like he was up here and he wasn't in my pelvis at all. So that's what she assumed, my uterus detached. And so they opened me up real quick. Like it was so fast.
Yeah.
Like I guess I needed a blood transfusion, which I didn't even know I needed.
Yeah.
She didn't tell me that, but it's okay. Maybe it's better. Some things are better left unsaid.
Yeah. Sounds like you
I think I lost like 800 units of blood. Like I was just so much blood. But I ended up having a placenta abruption is what happened.
That's what it was. Okay.
Can you elaborate for those who don't know?
So basically what it is, it's when your placenta detaches from your uterus prematurely and it causes major bleeding, right? So because I think all of the things that they were doing to me to try to get my cervix to dilate, I think it stressed my body out and that's what led to it. I don't really know why it happened. And that's just the theory I've come up with in my head is my body didn't want to let that baby go. So
your body wasn't ready to let that baby go. Like I understand they were trying to do for your health.
Yeah, definitely. And he was fine the whole time. Like his heart rate was good. He never was stressed out. He was chilling. Like he was like, all right. He came out crying and beautiful and all the things. So he was completely healthy.
Mom in the C-section room with you or no?
No. So because it happened so fast, like they didn't even make it back up in time. So and then I preferred to have my husband because it was just
You
so
had
scary.
somebody.
Like,
That's my thing.
yeah.
You had somebody. Okay.
Yeah,
Husband.
so my husband was with me and they let him hurry up and like change and he was
Yeah.
like that poor man. He was my
Oh,
rock that night. That's a lot for someone to watch, right? And I remember
uh-huh.
he was just trying to make me laugh. He's like, "Don't you leave me with these boys."
Oh,
I'm not going anywhere. And it was a very interesting sensation to be cut open while you're awake.
right?
So
You can feel
just,
little pressure. Yeah, it's weird.
just the pushing, the
Yeah,
pressure, like in your
weird.
ribs, like that's a feeling I probably will never forget. Like it's
Yeah.
interesting.
And
But,
then
you
they get
know,
this baby out, and this baby goes with the parents, and you're like sitting there
mhm.
having to be sewed up for like ever.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they also tied my tubes during
You
that just
wanted that?
because well, I didn't at first, but because of what was going on up here, my doctor was like, "Hey, this if I tie your tubes, it greatly reduces your risk of ovarian cancer." So I think she was just trying to mark all her bases for me. I was like, go for it. I'm not having any
Okay.
more babies. We're done. So yeah, they took a little bit longer because they tied my tubes during it. They did bring me the baby first. Like they brought him to me all wrapped up, and they asked me if I wanted to kiss him, and I was like, no, 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 no. Like take him to his mom first. Like I don't want to be the first one that kisses and loves on him. Like he's not
Sweet.
mine. So my husband was with me, and I was like I said, I wanted to see their reaction. So I was like, follow that baby. And so he left with the baby and went back to our room so he could record their reaction of them
Oh,
meeting the baby for the first time. So now we have it on video forever of this beautiful moment. They didn't expect the baby to be waiting there in the warmer. So when they
right.
walked in the room, yeah, I think they were just
Oh
that they
my
were coming
gosh.
back to an empty room.
Yeah.
So when they walked in, the baby was sitting on the warmer and they're like they're
Oh,
just
yeah.
shocked and
Yeah.
I think relief finally. Like my intended mother, she just instantly broke down in tears and
Of course.
the relief on
Gosh.
her face is like finally we have him. He's here. He was perfect. He weighed, I think, I can't remember, 6 pounds and some odd ounces. So he was a healthy baby boy. I think he was
Yeah.
18 inches long. So they were super excited. And the hospital left his cord attached so that they could cut it and made
Sweet.
it really special for them. And my husband got it all on video.
Oh,
So
your husband,
yeah.
what a saint. Oh my gosh. Because his natural tendency would want to be with you. You've just gone through
Right.
this major
Right.
operation, and you're like, no,
Hmm.
follow baby, follow baby. So what?
Yes, I was like,
How
please
sweet.
go with
How
the baby.
sweet.
And yeah, I was like, I promise I'm okay. Like, I'm
Yeah.
talking to you. See, I'm okay. Go. And
Right.
so, yeah, my poor husband, that
Oh,
man.
Oh, I know
I
he
put
went
him
through a
through a
lot.
lot.
yeah.
Yeah, he's the man.
My gosh.
Golly.
Okay, so goodness. So then how did you recover after
Yeah.
that?
That
Like,
was what my
So, I mean, oh, I felt like I was hit by a truck after that.
Mack
It was
truck. Yep.
intense. Yeah, recovering from birth is hard in general, right? But then
Mhm.
add the
right.
C-section part to it. It
Yeah.
hurt to walk, it hurt to stand, but other than that, I felt pretty good.
How long did you
Relieved that
stay in the hospital?
uh, we stayed 2 nights in the
Oh, that's
hospital.
not bad.
Yeah,
For losing
so
all that blood and everything, only
right.
2 nights?
Yeah.
I luckily I was okay. Yeah, I was
Great.
I
doing well. Yeah,
You're
I
pretty
was.
healthy going
Yeah.
into it. So your body,
I was healthy,
yeah.
and that's what kind of like blows us all away was how my journey turned out. Is how did I get medically cleared if I had something going on in my neck?
But
Because
did
they
they
do.
know? Did anybody know about right?
Like my blood work came out clear. All of my physicals came out clear. Like when I went to the clinic to do like the consult, like they did a full physical, like like how you would do a well woman's exam. They
Yeah.
did that at the clinic. They touched, and I had like all the blood work done, and all of my labs came back normal
So
before.
this cancer, so you have to tell us what it is, what it to turn out definitively be. But this
Yeah,
cancer actually started either right
while
before
I
you
was
got pregnant
pregnant.
or while you were
Yeah.
pregnant. Yeah.
So I had
Wow.
the baby, and then it's really our bodies are amazing. Let me just say. So, like my neck, you couldn't tell from the outside while I was pregnant that I had those things in my neck. You couldn't see them.
Okay.
So I had the baby on February 5th. Went home. We got discharged from the hospital at the same time, so I got to walk with them out of the hospital with their baby. It was awesome. And
Love
then
it.
on Valentine's Day, I like got a really high fever, like super high fever. I was sweating. I thought my C-section was infected, but my neck blew up. Like it was huge, my neck. And so I went to the emergency room because I didn't put two and two together. I thought it was my C-section.
Yeah.
They're like, no, your C-section looks fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it. She's like, but your white blood counts are really, really high. Like we got to figure that out. So they did a CT scan in the emergency room, and that was when I got like the official first inkling that it was Hodgkin's. She was like, we think it's Hodgkin's. And I was like, oh, I know. I was like, I think that's what everybody else thinks too. I have a biopsy scheduled for the 19th. So she's like, okay, well, you'll find out then. Like she told me, I went home with the paperwork that said, looks like Hodgkin's.
Yeah.
So I guess that might have mentally helped me prepare to what was to come. And so on the 19th,
why was the white count so high? Were you having an infection up in the neck, or your body was
I
just
guess
reacting
so.
to
Yeah, it was
the mass? Okay.
yeah, like my body was trying to okay, you're not pregnant anymore. Let's focus on this
On this.
now.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm
Makes
assuming
sense.
that's what it was. Yeah, and that's why I'm just like my body kept me healthy enough to carry a pregnancy, and then
Yes.
once it knew that baby was out, it's like, all right, time to shift gears.
Yep.
So
Jesus.
yeah, so I went on for a biopsy on the 19th. That's when they put me under, and that's why they wanted the baby to be born because it's not safe to be put under while you're
Right.
pregnant. So they took out a bigger chunk of in it. So then on my original due date with Surrogacy on February 24th, that was my actual due date. That's the day I was diagnosed with classical Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Wow.
Wow.
On your due
Yeah,
date. Jesus.
on my due date. So it
that's
was a
insane.
very interesting turn of events.
Right? So, oh
Yeah.
my God. Okay. So how does that get treated? Are you getting removed? Are you chemo, radiation? What's
Yeah,
happening?
so after they said like, okay, it's Hodgkin's, now we need to go into like how severe is this Hodgkin's? Like,
Right.
so then I had all the tests done, a PET scan, everything. And then a few weeks later, went back in, and then they told me exactly where it was, how bad it was, and I wasn't that news was probably the hardest because I wasn't expecting it to be so bad. Like, oh, it's like, oh, I felt it here, it won't be too bad.
Yeah.
It was stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma.
What?
Yeah, it was not only was it in my neck, it was in my chest. It had metastasized to my liver, and it
Oh
was in
my
my
God.
spleen. Yeah, so I had cancer all over my body and didn't even know it.
Oh my
It-
God.
yeah, that was a lot. I'm telling you, my poor husband, that man, he went through a year with me too, because he went with me to all these appointments, so
Oh my
he's
God.
getting all this news as I'm getting it, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was an
Jeez.
interesting car ride. But luckily, like my intended parents were amazing, and because we didn't really have a lot of people on the island, because we're not from there, so we didn't have a lot of people to lean on.
Yeah.
We leaned a lot on my intended parents during this. They actually watched my boys. My boys were at their house while me and my husband went and got like the full description of what was
Yeah.
actually that appointment. So when we went back to their house, I told her and told them, and they were just amazing. Because I don't know if back to like the screening part. So my intended parents had to purchase me surrogacy friendly insurance. So they were paying it this whole time. And I was using that insurance to use for like the cancer stuff too. So I just paid the out-of-pocket copays that weren't surrogacy related. So
Okay.
my intended parents were like, if you need to keep that insurance, please don't worry, we'll keep paying it. This is not a cheap insurance payment. It was like $400 every month. And like, don't worry, we'll keep paying it if you need it. I was like, no, it's okay. We have insurance. Don't worry. They were just so nice. Like anything I needed, they were there. Like if I needed help with the kids, they helped. They were just, it was like it went full circle. I helped them, and in turn, they helped me immensely. So
oh my God. Okay, so what's the plan of action to rid you of this ridiculous
so
cancer?
then they're like, all right, we're gonna start chemo.
Oh
And I
my
was
God.
pumping for my surrogate baby, so I only got to pump for 6 weeks. So from the time I had him, it was only 6 weeks until I went in and started chemo. So from
Jesus.
February 5th, 6 weeks later, I was starting chemo. I got a port placed in my chest. I have a beautiful reminder scar of the port I had put in, and just because I had tiny veins, so to poke me every time I would go in for chemo just wasn't feasible. So they put a port in that was the most uncomfortable thing to have in my body for 6 months, I'm gonna just say.
6 months.
Yeah, it's so
So
they can.
basically what I had to do is chemo. It was 4 different chemo drugs every 15 days for 6 months.
Oh
So I'd
my
go in
God.
for, yeah, it was intense. It was intense. I'd go in for chemo and I'd get 4 drugs. First, they'd start you on like the nausea meds, which is through your port, and then I got 4 chemo drugs. Um, and then 15 days, go back in. 15 days, go back in. And this was the kind of treatment where, so with chemo, your counts, it's basically destroying your body from the inside out. So you basically have no immune system, like you're
Nothing.
just depleted of everything. But my chemo, my treatment plan was full steam ahead. We don't care what your counts look like. We need to get this because it's
So
stage 4.
we're in 2020. We're in COVID. You got that
2021,
lingering.
yeah.
21,
Mhm.
right?
Okay. So you got that
Yeah,
lingering around. You're immunosuppressed. Like, oh
yeah.
dear God.
Mhm.
Are you
Yeah.
sick from the chemo? Do you get a lot of
Oh yeah. If you on my Instagram, if people want to look, I have a video of my journey and how it made me look. My first chemo infusion, I felt fine. Like, oh my God, this isn't too bad. I felt tired, but it wasn't anything to write home about. My intended mother sat at my home with my boys while my husband took me to my first chemo infusion. So when I got home, I saw my several babies sitting there. So it was like, it was hard to feel cruddy because,
yeah,
he was
Sure.
there. And then the second one, luckily my mom came and my mom was with me for my second one. So that's when I started feeling worse. So the second infusion was 15 days later. That's when my hair started falling out.
Oh, wow.
Started to just feel like crud, like complete and utter crud. So it would knock me on my feet for about 5 days. I'd be out of commission, about 5, 6 days, and then I'd come out of it and then go right back into it.
and
And
10 days later you're getting more chemo. Oh, this was 6 months,
so by the
Mom.
time I was starting to feel normal, it was so I went right back in
Oh,
and it started all over.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
golly.
Yeah, it was an intense experience and it was a whirlwind. Like I went from doing something completely selfless to then turning around and now I'm saving myself. So it was like interesting. I didn't
Yeah.
get to really like process surrogacy and
Right.
then when she, yeah, so
Too busy trying to
it
save
was,
your own life.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And
So
like my counts were just nothing. I'm surprised I didn't get sick.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was
Do
interesting.
so during this, do you have help at the house because you have 3
Yeah,
children?
so luckily, so my husband's in the army and luckily his chain of command where he was working, they were super duper understanding. So
Okay, good.
they let him pretty much work from home for 6 months. Yeah,
Wow.
and so we would make sure that we scheduled my chemo infusions for the day in the morning while my kids were at school. So my husband would drop me off, and I was there at the chemo infusion center from about 8 in the morning. I wouldn't be done till about 2. So I'd be there for about 5 hours. So he'd pick me up and then we'd go straight to get the kids from school. It was like it kind of
Yeah,
worked out. I just
yeah.
made
Five
sure,
hours?
yeah,
She's
because
getting
it's
4 different
every drug
drugs. Yeah,
and they have to do one at a time.
yeah.
And one of them, they call it the Red Devil because it's red. And that one gets pumped in by hand. So, because you have to mix it with saline so it doesn't burn your veins, essentially.
Jesus.
So that was like the last one they would do. And I'd be like, there goes the Red Devil going on in. And that was the one that as soon as I felt it hit my port, I felt it. It
Yeah.
was awful. And that one's like really bad on your heart. And the funny thing is, the side effect from these drugs is now I'm susceptible to leukemia now.
Nuh-uh.
So that was like one of the side effects of my
Wow.
chemo treatment is I could get leukemia. Yeah. Isn't that odd?
It's
That is
Yeah.
really odd.
so
So
weird.
Super odd.
do they eradicate like the tumors shrink? They don't go in and take them out,
So
right?
they don't take them out. I don't
Yeah.
know why. I couldn't tell you why they didn't take them out. And they were more so the one that they were most concerned was the one that was on my liver. Like that was because you can't really go in and take something out of your liver. It's kind of hard to
Really?
do that.
Probably
So, but
ingrained and
I luckily after my second chemo infusion, I went back in to get a PET scan to see if the chemo was working.
Okay.
And it was.
Okay.
Good.
Awesome.
Everything had already significantly shrunk, like
Great.
almost to nothing by the second infusion. So by the second infusion, after that PET scan showed like, okay, we're making progress. They took away a drug. So I didn't need 4, I only needed 3.
Okay.
So then still took the same amount of time, but
Yeah.
one less drug.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to stop. We went full steam ahead, and we never missed a chemo infusion. I never got to take a break. It was just every 15 days for 6 months. It was an
Okay. So it's basically twice a month, and 10 of those days you're feeling like utter crap because of the after effects from the chemo. And there's only 30 roughly days in a month. So that's 20 left. And 2 of those days you're literally in a chemo chair getting chemo. So that's 8. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you funcmed. Like,
I don't
you're a
either.
hero.
It was a blur, honestly. And like sometimes I would cry and just my poor husband. I'm telling my poor husband, he needs to go
like
talk to someone.
That guy needs
He's like, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to help you, because I would just be crying because I didn't know how to help myself. And it was interesting. It felt like an out of body experience. Like I was watching myself deteriorate and trying to put on a brave face for your kids, and they're seeing their mom be sick, and so that's hard on them too. Luckily my oldest was the only one that kind of got it, and so I was honest with him and let him know what was happening, and I let him ask all the questions, and he was so helpful. My oldest, he's such a good boy. He would take care of me. Like I used to like diffuse essential oils for the nausea, and he would come and like fill it up for me and bring me food, and he was a great help during that too. My kids, they're all great, but my oldest, he was so helpful. Anything I needed, if his dad couldn't get to it, he did it. So
sweet.
it was an interesting experience to go through.
And I may be jumping, but I need to know how is your health now? Like,
so after the 6 months, obviously we did another PET scan, right? And so I finished my last chemo round was September 1st, which is my 32nd birthday. An interesting way to celebrate your birthday is to finish chemo.
All these things are happening on such milestone days, you know?
Right. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't know. I mean, maybe
I don't know. Yeah. I guess you don't forget anything.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at it either way. Yeah.
Wow. Right. Yeah. So I after that we waited I think we waited a month or 2. I can't remember. November. I think we waited till November to do another PET scan. And like that was agony to wait to find out if you were no longer a cancer in your body. So I did things to help myself be busy. I found my love of doula work during chemo, and that was something I had paid for a doula training on island, and that was like something I could look forward to. Like you just have to get to that, and then you'll be okay. So in October, I went to a doula training, and that kept my mind busy and to not think about. I met all these amazing women who had like-mindedness like me and helping women birth, right? And it was a beautiful experience. And then I went in for that PET scan, and then finally got the news that I was cancer-free. And it was like a weight lifted. Like it was
my God. Like one day, you're cancer-free now. Like really?
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah. Wow.
Right. Yeah. It was, he's like, there's no, so they call it no evidence, NED, no evidence detected, or some type of word that they use, but no evidence of disease. There you go. There it is. Okay. So I got the NED, and it worked.
And when
my agony was worth it.
When did you get that all free? At the end of 22?
Yeah, no, end of 21. So
end of 21. Okay.
So yeah, so around November, I want to say like November 3rd. I think it was November 3rd.
So you're almost 2 years. And have you had other PET
So
scans?
2 years in remission in November. And I was originally told that you need to just make it to 2 years, and then your chances of that type of cancer coming back are virtually zero. Okay. But then my new oncologist, because obviously we moved and now I live in Texas, but my oncologist here, she said, oh no, that's not true. It's 5 years.
It's 5.
You got to make it to 5 years, and then you're considered that, at least for that cancer.
Right.
So we celebrated. We took my kid on no expense spared trip back home to California for Thanksgiving, and got to surprise my family because they didn't know we were coming. And I looked different. I didn't have any hair, I didn't have any eyebrows, but they were excited to see me.
Oh,
So we took the kids to Legoland. We did all kinds of things just to celebrate mom's not sick.
yeah.
Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
My
it was a
God.
very, very interesting year.
What a harrowing tale. Like, honest, that could have gone south so easily, Cassandra. Like,
Oh, for sure. And I had those thoughts. So, when you go through any type of journey, surrogacy, you meet people, right? You start following people in the surrogacy world. So I had cancer and I started following people in the cancer world. And I knew this woman who had the same exact cancer as me. I believe she was stage 3 though. And in the middle of her treatment, she got really sick and she unfortunately passed away. And that was hard for me just
yeah.
because it was like, well, I'm next. If
Oh,
she has the same cancer as me and I'm worse than her, then of
yeah.
course I'm the guy. So like during cancer treatment, you have those thoughts like, holy
Yeah.
crap, like
Yeah.
I could die. Not only did I almost die giving birth to a baby that wasn't mine, and then
Yeah.
and then so I had a lot of tears, a lot of tears. When I look back, I'm like, holy cow, how did I make it out of that?
Right.
You're strong as hell.
Right.
Like,
Honestly, yes. Before I
Yeah.
would never used to say that. I just did what I had to do. But now that I'm
no,
healed more,
you're
heck yeah,
strong.
I was
Yeah.
a badass.
Yeah, you
Heck
were.
yeah.
And you still
Oh,
are. Like, that doesn't go
yeah.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
And to
Well,
be able
because
to
you're
talk
still.
about it so gracefully, like,
Mhm.
what?
Oh,
And
I used to cry when I would tell the story. You guys can tell I've healed because there's no more tears. It was a very emotional thing to say in the beginning, like to talk about
Yeah.
it. I would just instantly burst into tears. But I'm better because of it. I care more about what I put in my body now. I have health anxiety now. I think that's the only bad takeaways. I think everything's trying to kill me now. So like that's something I'm working through. So that's what also changed my way of thinking about what I bring into my home, what products we use, the things we eat. So I learned back to surrogacy that the certain IVF drugs, if you have cancer hiding in your body and it's dormant or you just don't know about it, IVF medicines can make those cancers surface.
Cool.
So so my oncologist said you had this cancer in you before you became pregnant, like it was in you already. You just needed something to wake it up. He's like,
okay.
it wasn't because of surrogacy, but then I dug and did my research and learned that it was probably the IVF meds that made it like flourish, I
Yeah.
guess, and come to the
Interesting.
surface
And
faster.
maybe that was a blessing in disguise that it did. I don't know how
Really.
you view it, because if it's
Oh, totally.
dormant for another 10 years and
Mhm.
maybe your body wouldn't
And
have
if my
been
body was older, how would it
right.
have been able to handle it? I'm very lucky that it was found when it was found. I totally believe surrogacy was a blessing in disguise for this kind of outcome,
Absolutely.
because it helped. It helped me get a
Yeah.
diagnosis faster because you're right. Who knows how long it would have just sat there and festered,
Right.
and like the spot on my liver was small. It was like a pea size, but imagine if it didn't show up,
It would have
how
engulfed
much.
your liver, and now you're needing a liver transplant, and you need to eradicate
Right, right.
cancer. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, wow. Oh
yeah.
my God. I honestly believe
Yeah,
that was, like you said, that's the best way for it. Blessing in disguise. Yes. Yes.
definitely it was. I don't have any regrets about being a surrogate. I would
Yeah.
do it 100 times over for
Yeah.
them because I love them. They're my family now.
Yeah.
So they're so happy. They love their little guy so much, and he's 2, and we're both healthy and we're both thriving, and
Great.
you know,
Oh,
I
man.
have a positive outcome
Yeah.
from my experience, even though it was very scary.
Yeah. And
Very
then you
scary.
went to doula training, right? So are you a
Yeah.
practicing doula now?
Yeah, so I am. I am a certified labor doula now. I do own my own doula business.
For you.
Yeah. So I recently joined a nonprofit, a doula nonprofit. So now I work out of this nonprofit. So the nonprofit pays me to provide doula services to people in my area. So that's something new that I'm doing. And then I'm
Very
also
cool.
working for my surrogacy agency,
Yeah.
which has been amazing because we all know I'd probably never qualify. I will probably no, and not probably. I will not qualify to be a surrogate again because of that placenta abruption.
Right.
So I'm happy to still be involved in the world of surrogacy because I really wanted to carry again for my intended parents. So I'll do a sibling journey for you. We'll do it all the same. We won't change anything, and then that's
Yeah.
not happening, but that's okay. I get to help guide other women on their journey to becoming a surrogate, and I love it.
Living the dream,
What a
honestly.
Yeah.
beautiful attitude.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
a beautiful thing
I
to
still
do.
get to be here in surrogacy, so it's not, it's a little bit different, but it's kind of even better because, a second journey would have ended. And
Yeah.
now I've been with my agency as their screening coordinator. It'll be 2 years in February that I've been doing it. Yeah, so I love it. And my boss, Andrea, she's amazing. She lets us all work from home, and we're all military spouses, and we literally live
Awesome.
everywhere. I live in Texas, another girl lives in California, she lives in Pennsylvania. So like she's just made it work, and I'm 5 hours ahead of Hawaii. So sometimes I stay up a little bit late to kind of help the girls on the Hawaii side, but
There you go.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just all seems like it all just, I know you had to go through hell, but it just seemed
Oh,
like
yeah.
it all ended up where it was supposed to
It
end up.
ended up where it was supposed to be. I initially, when I reached out to my boss, I was like, I offered postpartum help to like intended parents who were coming to the island to be with their babies, to get their babies, because we have a lot of intended parents in Australia. We have some on the mainland, and they all go to Hawaii to
Okay.
pick up their babies essentially,
Yeah.
unless they're local to the island. So initially I was like, hey, I would love to offer my postpartum services to some of your intended parents. And she's like, oh, okay. But then she reached back out to me and was like, hey, do you want to actually like work for me? I was like, heck yeah. And so
Nice. That's awesome.
yeah, so that's where I've been.
That's great. That's
I
phenomenal.
have a quick question that we didn't go over, and you had brought it up, so it's a good segue. What was your medication protocol? Did you do injections?
I did. So it was one injection every morning, and then the estrus pill like twice a day,
Yeah.
and then a suppository at night.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they sucked.
They
They sucked.
worst.
They suck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my husband
Okay.
poked me with a needle every morning. I don't know why I had to do it at 6:30 in the morning, but that's what they told me. And as a surrogate, you're like, I'm not gonna mess this up. So
Right,
they're like
yeah, no.
on it. So
Yeah.
every morning at 6:30, had to wake up for an injection, but it's all right.
So your husband gave you the shots?
Yeah.
I
Because
feel that. Yeah, no way. No
I would
way.
have hesitated. I'd be like, oh, I would have taken way longer than your husband. Just be like, all right, sit still.
Yeah, because you're just gonna sit there and stare at the needle and be
Right.
like, I can do this.
Mhm.
You're gonna talk yourself into it for an hour and then
Yeah.
oh, just no.
Super easy. And luckily, since the transfer worked on the first try, I only had to do it for 12 weeks. And then,
Okay. Then
Okay.
you
we're
know,
done. It's good.
yeah. So now my intended mother, she has one embryo left, but it's a grade C embryo. It's not tested. So right now they're in the process of getting another surrogate, hopefully
Aw.
soon for a sibling. And, they have a better headspace about it. And she's like, if it doesn't work, that's okay. We have Keanu. She's like, but I would like to try for a
Mhm.
sibling. So
That's
that's kind
great.
of cool that they're doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
That's very sweet.
Yeah,
I love that you're still
Yeah.
in contact with them and that
Oh
you
yeah.
have
I mean,
such a
not as
wonderful-
often as we were when we were on the island, but
Yeah.
because the time difference and we're both busy. But yeah,
Yeah.
I send Keanu, his name's Keanu. I send him like the holiday gifts, so like Halloween, Christmas. Like I send him like a little goodie bag. So he's my nephew.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's
Amazing.
sweet.
I
And
love
yeah.
it. I'm gonna ask one more question that is talked
Yeah.
about here and there. And now I know your kids might have a different perspective because mom was sick.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
were your children affected negatively due to surrogacy itself?
No. Mm-mm. They totally get it. My oldest was happy that we weren't having another baby because he's got two younger siblings, so he's like, okay, I'm happy you're not. And then my youngest, he was only 1 at the time, so he doesn't get it,
Yeah.
And then my 3-year-old, 4-year-old at the time, he just, mom's growing a baby for someone. And so, and I think it also helped that my intended parents were local. So like they got to put a face to what I was doing. You know what I mean? They got to meet them and hang out with them. And so every time we were with them, like, look, this is Sarah and Noah's baby in my belly. So like it was easier to explain it to them that way. And then I think it also helped that we got to go to their house to meet the baby, and they got to see the baby, and like, this is the baby that was in mommy's belly, and look, now he lives here. So yeah, they have them. Wow, I don't think it affected them negatively at all. Like it was pretty
Positive.
easy.
No, yeah. There's always just those people out there that are like, you know, they always say that.
How can you expose your kids to that? Oh my God.
Easily. I'll happily do it.
The stigma behind surrogacy. It's like, it's not like, there's all those people that say like, oh, you're ripping the baby from the only home it's known. I promise you, he doesn't remember being in
I was adopted, and I wasn't ripped from the only home I know. I was in an orphanage, for crying out loud. I got a great set of
like, I don't think, I mean, kids, do you guys remember being in my belly? No, like, no, I don't even, you know, like, it's not.
Earliest memories for me are like 5.
Yeah, you know, she did her own research, and she read that, not because this was surrogacy, but just in general, she read that birth is traumatic for babies, like coming out of the birth canal, it's constricting, you know, just the sensation of being born. So she was adamant about baby being placed on me first, just because he was in me, kind of like a grounding, like, we're going to put the baby on you first and give you that time for him to regulate, and then I'll take the baby, which is, I didn't expect that. I was more than happy. Your baby, you catch him. So it was amazing that she was giving me that opportunity. But unfortunately, we didn't even get that. So
but the fact that she had that in her heart to even want that to happen, that's amazing.
She's an amazing woman. They were just the chillest intended parents ever. Like, they were just, you know, I got to pick my OB. The only thing that was decided for me by the agency was the hospital I was going to deliver at, just because they had a really good women's and babies hospital on the island. So all of the surrogates deliver at that hospital. But she let me pick my OB and just let me cook her baby. She wasn't, they weren't like on top of me about anything. Like, she's like, you've done this 3 times, I trust you. Like, you know, so they were just so easygoing and relaxed. I know that's not the case for a lot of surrogates. They get very like invasive intended parents, or like overbearing. They were not overbearing at all.
It's nice to hear that happy story, even with such a crazy twist in the middle of it.
I'm telling you, I could write a book about 2021.
You should.
Because they rallied. Your family, like, it just, you said it beautifully when you said it earlier, that you did something so selfless for them, and then in turn,
literally went right into saving my own life. And I think that might have also helped me mentally, about, because, you know, they always ask, like, how did you feel like not going home with the baby? It felt great going home with the baby, but then my brain never got to also process not having a baby. Like, I never got to feel those postpartum emotions, because I literally straight into something else.
You had to go into fight mode.
So I honestly don't know how I would have felt. I mean, I'm sure, of course, I know I would have been happy, but do women get like the postpartum blues or baby blues without a baby? So I will never know, because I didn't get the traditional ending to my journey. But I also think that was a good thing, because maybe who knows? We'll never know, I guess.
My God. Well, I am in true awe of you and your strength and everything you have gone through, and you should definitely write a book. I would read it.
I know. I don't know how to write, but I've thought about
it. You should just go to Barnes and Noble. They have those, like, write your story.
And I also like talk about my journey a lot, like just with the girls that I walked through the process with. So I think that might have also helped too. Like, I'm just talking about it all the time. So it's helped it.
You're healing, right?
So, and like, don't always want to lean into like, oh, I got cancer after my journey, because I don't want to scare them. But I also, some of them, like, they'll ask, like, well, how come you had to be induced at 37 weeks? Like, you know, they ask questions, and then that would just, I'm honest, but I remind, like, it wasn't because of surrogacy. Like, this was just the luck of the draw for me. I was the rare exception. Like, there 99% of surrogates have completely normal, healthy
Yeah.
deliveries. Like mine was just the rare. And like my intended mother, she went back to the IVF doctor and was like, how come you guys didn't catch this? Like she was upset, not just because the woman with that she had cancer, but she was upset for me. Like why,
Right.
Yeah.
why? But
Yeah.
all of
It
my
was dormant.
blood work.
Right.
Hmm?
Right.
Yeah, so it
That
wasn't
little
even their fault.
that little guy kind of saved your life in a way. I
Yeah,
mean,
he really
yeah.
did. He really,
Yeah.
really did.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bound to happen. Cancer was bound to happen. It just wouldn't
Yeah.
have happened so soon. And I'm
Right.
grateful that it happened because my body handled it like a champ. So every
Right.
once in a while, like just thank my body, like thank you. Thank you for
Aw.
carrying me through. Because our brain and our bodies are separate things, So
Yeah.
I'm trying to, make sure I tell my body that I'm grateful. Thank you for carrying me through that hell of a year. You did it. We did it.
Yep.
So
Yes,
It's amazing.
you did
yeah.
do it. You
Best
did.
attitude. My God,
Yeah.
Cassandra. Best attitude.
What
Yeah.
what
Thanks.
is your
It took a
advice?
long time to get there.
What is your advice then for surrogates that say, hey, Cassandra, I want to be a surrogate?
Yeah.
My number one advice is don't let the compensation be the driving force. Like, of course, you deserve to be compensated, but it has to come from a selfless place because with pregnancy comes risk. With any pregnancy comes risk. And I personally don't believe there's a dollar amount that could replace me and my family's life had
Nope.
my delivery gone severely south.
Right.
So I
Right.
just make sure I tell them, like, you deserve to be compensated by all means. Like, you deserve that compensation, but make sure you're also doing it because you want this for them. You want them to have their baby. So like that's probably like my biggest thing that I'm always
Good
saying.
one.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And the other thing I always tell new surrogates is ask for more for your breast milk compensation because I only did it for 6 weeks and that was
Yeah.
hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is hard work.
I do hear
I
that a
don't
lot.
think the compensation was worth the work
Right.
it was to come full time.
Yeah.
That was like another piece of advice. Ask for more for your breast
That's
Yeah.
a great one. I hear
It
that
is a great one.
often.
Because it's like you have a newborn at home. You're
Yeah.
doing this every
Literally. And it's even harder because you're not getting like the sensations of having a baby crying. So
Right.
like and I was like a barely enougher. I would take them milk once a week. And by the time I got there, they're barely running out. So like I didn't even overproduce. I just
yeah.
made barely enough. And that was
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
pressure on that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. My gosh.
Well, you want to give your agency a plug? Where can
Yeah.
people find your agency?
Yeah. So we are Hawaii Surrogacy Center. And if you just go to hawaiisurrogacycenter.com, there is a become a surrogate little button there you can hit and fill out an inquiry form, and then that would get you to me.
Awesome.
I am the one that gets the surrogates in the door from the start to matching, and then so I'm with them in the beginning, and I'll be the one that guides them through. It's amazing. We're with them the entire way. Our agency is very, very personal, very hands-on, as much as we can be, because
Yeah.
it's all virtual, essentially.
Right.
I mean, I feel like everything is virtual now. Like COVID has just made
Yeah.
the world virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my psychological evaluation, I actually went to like an office and sat in a room with the woman, and now all of our psych evaluations are all done on
Online.
Zoom.
Yep. Yep.
That's funny.
They
Yeah,
are.
it's interesting. But
Just
yeah,
Way more
Here.
convenient too. Way more convenient. Yeah.
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 Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
It's been a
Well,
delight. It really
thank you
has.
so much
Yeah.
for sharing your story.
It's a really personal story to
Yes,
share.
it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It is. But
It's
you
Thank
gonna
you
help
for
a lot.
letting me share. I think it's important for
Yeah.
potential surrogates to know all of the possible outcomes, although my
Yeah.
outcome is rare. It's still an outcome, right? So
It's still an outcome.
I'm
Yep.
happy to share it, to give them a view of every type of journey.
Yes. And your
So-
outcome could have gone different, and you're here sitting talking about it healthy. So
Definitely.
you're here, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've gotten chills like this entire time,
Yeah,
and you're
it
saying
was
something,
meant
you
to
said something
happen
else,
the
and I'm
way
like,
it happened.
yeah.
So the
So
universe
you
works in mysterious ways.
you are a miracle girl. Yes, you are.
Thank you.
You
Thank you.
are a fighter. Keep fighting. You'll be in my thoughts for the next ever, but definitely
3
for
more
the
years
next
till we're
years.
cancer free.
I know, right? I'll message you and be like, I made it 3 years. Hopefully nothing, every duty station that we've moved to, something significant has happened. Like I've given birth.
Yeah.
And then so I'm happy that we're in Texas and life is just, I'm so happy that life is just life right now. Nothing chaotic is happening. We're just
Right.
happy. We're
Just
loving.
living your
Just
best lives.
living,
Yep.
literally. Nothing is
Yep.
stressing us out. Like we're just here,
awesome.
and it's
Right.
honestly, I
Happy for
never thought I would appreciate the mundane parts of life, but I savor them. I appreciate the mundane more than
Yeah.
anything in the world now.
Well, we are certainly happy you are here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And living the mundane life. There you
Yes.
go.
Yes.
Absolutely. Every day.
Yeah, right. I love it.
Thank you
Yes.
so much, Cassandra. This was
You're
really, really
welcome.
enlightening. Really.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
so
for
much.
having me. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Absolutely.
Pleasure.
Anytime. Anytime.
Yes.
Have a wonderful night. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you so much,
Guys,
Cassandra.
too.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Okay,
Take care.
bye.
Bye-bye. Cassandra, thank you so very much for sharing that very personal story. And super happy that it all worked out the way it did, because it could have gone a different way. And it's very brave of somebody to be able to come on and talk like that and be so positive still, because I know several people with cancer, right, and they can't get out of that headspace that it's just a negative. And she seemed to every milestone or negative thing that she hit, she spun it and looked at the positive. She did. And I think that right there says something for it's all mindset. It's all mindset. And she had great support, which a lot of people don't. They just don't.
Yeah, her IPs definitely supported her. They gave
Which
it
was
back.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
No, I know.
Yes.
Well, Cassandra, keep fighting on. You're wonderful, and we wish you the very best. If anybody has any stories or questions that they would like to share, please feel free to reach out to me at Stop.Sit.Surrogate on Instagram.
It's been another edition of Stop, Sit, Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.